So now we've talked about kind of like what note investing is, what notes are, the types of notes. But now I'm going to talk about why I buy notes and why you might be interested in doing the same. And there are a lot of good reasons why you might. Number one is cash flow, right? I mean, investors are always looking for, investment options to just generate cash. And notes are a really great way to do that because they don't necessarily carry some of the obligations that buying a rental property would have. And the returns are generally going to be a lot better than, let's say, a dividend paying stock or some kind of treasury bond or corporate bond or things like that. You can get really, really good cash flows with these. Often when I'm buying performing notes, generally 8 to 15% annualized return based on the riskiness and some other characteristics of the loan. And the second reason is those higher returns, right? So if I'm buying a performing note and I'm getting 8 to 15%, that's usually a lot better than my other fixed income options. And then if I'm doing non-performing notes, I have the opportunity to potentially make even more, although that carries risk with it, right? I mean, one of the things I always emphasize is there's no free lunch, and you want to be careful about just grabbing a deal that looks like it has a potentially higher return, because there's generally higher risk that goes with it. That doesn't mean that's a bad thing. It just means you want to be really thoughtful about how you do these things. But generally speaking, you can get much higher returns than in other investment classes. And the reason for that is reason number 3 for buying notes, which is there tends to be a lot less competition. So if you're looking at buying, let's say your model is you want to buy REOs to either do fix and flips or, turn them into rentals or turn them into turnkey rentals, there's generally a lot of competition. There are a lot of people in that game. Or if you're trying to wholesale, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people who do that. Note investing has a much smaller pool of investors. So even it's a nichier industry than some of the other forms of real estate investing. And what I like about it is I can generally get better returns, and I'm not competing with hordes and hordes of people to do it. So that's part of the reason why you can get these higher returns, right? There's a reason for everything, right? It's not just this magical thing where the higher returns are sitting around. There are reasons for that, and a lot of it is just not as many people know how to do this. And the good news is it's not necessarily as hard to do as some people make it out to, and you don't have to spend $75,000 with some guru to learn how to do it. So I like it a lot. Reason number 4 is that you can avoid some of the issues related to rentals, right? So when you're a bank, you're just collecting payments and dealing with the loan. You have an interest in the property, you can foreclose it, but you don't actually own the property, right? So if your toilet clogs, you don't call Bank of America, who may have your mortgage, right? You don't have to deal with that. Now, there is a flip side to this as well that I'm going to get to here shortly. If you foreclose and end up with an REO, now you've got something that could be more challenging than a rental. But in general, these are a lot more hands-off. You're not hiring a property manager. It can be simplified, particularly if you're buying just performing notes for cash flow. Now, reason number 5 can be a lower cost method of acquiring property. Now, some of these depend on what your strategy is. So if you're just buying performing notes for cash flow, you're not trying to acquire the property, right? That means the loan stopped paying. That's not good. But what some people do, if they do want to do fix and flips or create rentals, and especially now with COVID and some of the courts slowed down, the supply of real estate inventory is really, really low. I was just talking to a friend of mine here in the Denver area that's a Keller Williams realtor, and he was telling me that in the Denver metro area, there are total housing supply is like 3,500 houses for sale. And to have what they call a stable market, they need 35,000. So properties on the market. So right now, at least in Denver in late 2020 when I'm recording this, the supply of inventory is 10% of what you need for a stable property. So if your investing model counts on you getting properties, it's really difficult right now. However, if you buy a distressed note and then either foreclose or work out a deed in lieu with the borrower, that can be a way to get properties that are off market. And then generally your total acquisition cost is going to be quite a bit lower than if you go out and you're bidding against everybody and their uncle on a property.